The Assassin. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Well, as I said on Friday's show, I expected the weekend to be full of a bunch of free agency moves in the NBA, and basically as soon as I stopped recording the podcast, a couple hours later, it just was off and running, and we had nothing but signings. It's actually difficult for me to even keep up, but I'll just go over, we had a bunch of course we had a bunch of extensions, but I'm not going to really talk about those just because they're not really that big of a deal. And plus, you never know, that player could be traded next year for all we know. But anyways, there were a shit ton of extensions over the weekend to the rookie contract guys who have been playing well. So, for example, like LaMelo Ball, he got an extension, of course, the max extension. As expected, but then we also had a bunch of re-signings, a bunch of new guys going different places, and we also had a couple of trades and a trade demand as well. So a whole bunch happened in the NBA. So here's a couple of the highlights. Draymond Green looks like he is going to re-sign with the Golden State Warriors. No shock there. And I mean, the dude's he's been the backbone of that team, just like Steph Curry. So I just kind of feel like why let him go? And then Chris Middleton, he re-signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. Then Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves both re-signed with the Lakers. So I'm pretty excited about that because those were the two guys I really didn't want us to lose. The Lakers actually started to play a lot better after the trade for Hachimura. So I kind of feel like we got to build the team around those two guys at this point. I mean, not build around them, but they definitely needed to be pieces to help build this team. So I was happy to see those moves. Then Fred VanVleet, he signed with the Houston Rockets. Also, Dylan Brooks signed with the Houston Rockets. So the Rockets are making some big moves. We'll see if that pays off at all. But they got both offense and defense taken care of on those signing those two players. Then Russell Westbrook, he ended up re-signing with the Los Angeles Clippers. And then Kyle Kuzma has re-signed with the Washington Wizards. So those were I'd say the major highlights of free agency signings. There were quite a bit, but they were more just role players. These guys are bigger names. Then the big trade we had was the Miami Heat traded Max Strus to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I think is a big trade for the Cavaliers because they really needed some offensive firepower other than Donovan Mitchell. So this really helps them out in the long run there because they're a very young team, and I just think this makes them even better. But they do need help on the defensive side. But this is a big pickup, especially from the three-point line as well, because Strus was big for the Heat, especially during this playoff run from the three-point line. And then the last bit of big NBA news is, as expected, at least I expected, Damian Lillard has requested a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers. So far, his favorite team that he would like to go to is the Miami Heat. Who knows if that's going to happen? Who knows where he's going to end up going? But like I was saying about a week or so ago when I was talking about what's going to happen with Dame Lillard in the offseason, whoever's getting him is getting a good player, and I expect him to go to at least a competitive team who has some type of championship caliber or championship aspirations, if you will. I don't think he's going to go to I mean, who knows? Maybe he could go to a Golden State, but I don't know if he would end up going to a team like that. But I feel like him going to Miami Heat would be a perfect fit with him and Jimmy Butler. But we'll see how that pans out. I kind of feel like he's going to get traded here probably I'd say any week now, not any day now, but they're definitely looking for a trade. But Portland's not going to just roll over and just give Dame away. But it's kind of it's time for them to move on, just because right now Dame has suffered a lot of injuries over the past couple of seasons. So I kind of feel like his trade value is about as high as it's going to get at this point in time. And if they wait till, say, like the trade deadline during the season, there's a good possibility the dude could get injured, and then you have not a lot of value there. Whereas right now, value's high. He's healthy. He's ready to start the season wherever he ends up going, and they'll get a pretty decent haul for him as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm not surprised that he's getting traded, just because, especially with how the draft panned out for the Trailblazers. They ended up getting the point guard. So basically, the writing was on the wall right then and there. So Dame Lillard, he's going to be wearing a new uniform regardless, and we'll see where that is, probably here in the next couple of weeks. All right, now turning to baseball, let's get to the Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings. A couple of newcomers at the bottom here, little bit of shuffling here, but number one remains the same, the Atlanta Braves. Overall record of 56-27. They are currently on an 8-game winning streak, which is the longest winning streak currently in baseball. They are 9-1 in their last 10 games, and this team just couldn't get hotter. They swept the Minnesota Twins. Not only did they sweep the Marlins, but they kicked the crap out of the Marlins. Ronald Acuna Jr. just having an MVP season, batting .336 with 21 home runs, 54 RBI. Then you also have Matt Olson, who is still dominating with his bat as well. He's right behind Shohei Ohtani in home runs with 28 home runs, and then he's tied with Shohei Ohtani for the RBI lead with 68 RBI. So the Braves are just getting a ton of offense, and then of course Spencer Strider. He's had a dominating season, but he had yet another dominating week and yet another dominating game yesterday. So the Braves just keep getting better, and they are head and shoulders above everybody now, because even the Rays, who are still hanging in there, they kind of are starting to show some cracks, whereas the Braves are just getting better and better and better with each and every game. So they are the obvious number one. Then at number two on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings, the Tampa Bay Rays. Overall record of 57-30. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. This past week, they took a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, but lost the series to the Seattle Mariners. As I said, they've cooled off the last couple of weeks for sure. Unfortunately, Shane McClanahan, he's going to have a stint on the injured list here for a little bit, which really takes a huge chunk out of their starting pitching there, because he still leads the league in wins and with the lowest ERA. So that's a big guy right there. But then their offense is really, it's still on fire. And right now it's Isaac Paredes. He's the hot bat at this current point in time, batting at .267 with 14 home runs and 53 RBI. And the Tampa Bay Rays have cooled it a little bit. Like I said, they're starting to show some cracks here at the midpoint of the season, but also at the same time, they're still one of the best teams in the league. And even though going through a rough patch right now, every team goes through a rough patch, even if you're the best team in the league. And right now, that seems to be what's going on with the Rays. Then at number three on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings at the Texas Rangers. Overall record of 50-34. So they have also hit the 50-win mark at this point in the season. They are 4-6 in their last 10 games, so not having that great of a week lately. This past week, they took the series against the Detroit Tigers, but lost the series to the Houston Astros. But they're still getting it done with their bats. They lead the league in runs with 494 runs. And then Adolis Garcia, he's been the hot bat, but the last couple of weeks he's been pretty quiet, but he started to get it going again this week, and right now he leads the team in home runs with 20 and leads the team with RBI with 67 RBI. And then Nathan Eovaldi, he just continues his dominance with 10 wins, 2.64 ERA, and 106 strikeouts. So even though the Rangers are down right now, they're still one of the top teams in the league. Then at number 4 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Overall record of 50-35, so they also have hit the 50-win mark at this point in the season. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games, so they've kind of hit a cold point right now. This past week, they lost a series to the Tampa Bay Rays, but took the series against the Los Angeles Angels. It was a battle yesterday between Ohtani and Gallen, but Gallen got blown up yesterday. But Diamondbacks are still in order. Right now, Christian Walker is having a great season, batting a .269 with 16 home runs and 54 RBI. That leads the team right now. So even though the Diamondbacks have cooled it off a bit, they still are tops in the National League West, still have been dominating that division for the most part all season long. And even though Gallen got blown up, he's been one of the best pitchers in the National League this season. Then at number 5 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings, I have the Cincinnati Reds. Overall record of 45-39. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. This past week, they took the series against the San Diego Padres and the Baltimore Orioles, and they just continue their hot streak. They have not really come down at all. You know, Elly De La Cruz, their rookie phenom right now, is batting a .313 with 3 home runs and 12 RBI on the season. But really, the emerging star is Spencer Steer, who really, he had a game-winning run earlier in the week. And he's just been dominating with his bat all season long, with batting a .283 with 14 home runs and 50 RBI on the season. So the Reds are really getting it done with their bats. Pitching, not too bad. They're still leading their division at this point in time, but I feel like that division's still up for grabs. And even though the Reds are hot right now, I wouldn't be shocked if they start to cool off here at some point. But right now, they're looking pretty good. They're healthy, and they're getting it done offensively for sure. And they're an exciting team for the Cincinnati fans to watch at this current point in time. Then at number 6 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. Overall record of 44-39. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. This past week, they took the series against the Chicago Cubs, but lost the series to the Washington Nationals. They're getting it done with a lot of their bats so far this season. Shockingly, not with Trey Turner or Bryce Harper, which has been really odd because, you know, Bryce Harper, he's an MVP. So you always expect him to be hot, but he's had a really, really quiet season. And so is Trey Turner. Trey Turner, you know, he signed a big contract. He was the big free agency signing. A lot of teams were after him, and he's been very, very quiet. Now, defensively, he hasn't been too bad, but he just hasn't been the guy. But somebody who has emerged as the guy for the Phillies so far has been Bryson Stott, who's having a breakout season, batting a .294 with 7 home runs and 30 RBI. And then you have Taijuan Walker, who's also having a great season pitching this year for the Phillies. He's got 9 wins on the season with a .393 ERA and 77 strikeouts. So the Phillies are getting it done, especially with their bats. Castellanos and Schwarber are still lighting it up. So the Phillies right now are one of the red hot teams and surging right now. Then at number 7 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings, a team that is starting to fall a little bit, the Miami Marlins. Overall record of 48-37. They are 6-4 in their last 10 games. They swept the Boston Red Sox earlier in the week, but they got swept by the Atlanta Braves, and I mean swept. It was not a close one. One of the final scores was 16-0, so it was not a good series for the Marlins there. But they are getting a lot of offensive production so far from Jorge Soler, who is just having a great season, batting a .242 with 22 home runs and 47 RBI. That leads the team in home runs and RBI. And then, of course, you gotta watch out for Luis Arias, who's batting a .389 right now with 41 RBI and 3 home runs on the season. So having a very consistent year, but we're just kind of watching him, seeing if he can maintain that batting average of around 400, because it's been a long ass time since we've seen somebody average 400. And he's been doing it. I mean, he's been very consistent. He's been doing it since last year, really. But this year he's been right there, and he's been leading the league in batting average all year. He was the batting average leader last year. So the guy knows how to get on base, and, you know, he's driving in the runs with 41 RBI as well. So if you're looking out for him to bat at 400, he is still hovering around 400 right now at 389. Then at number 8 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings at the Baltimore Orioles, tumbling a little bit. They've cooled off a bit this week. They're 49-33 overall, but they are 4-6 in their last 10 games. This past week, they lost a series to the Reds and the Minnesota Twins, so not a good week for them so far. But Anthony Santander, he is just having a great season, batting .265 with 14 home runs and 47 RBI. They're really getting it done offensively. You got Mullins having a great year also. Adley Rutschman has cooled off just a bit, but I don't expect that to last for much longer. But the Orioles still up there and still one of the top teams in the American League and should be hitting that 50-win mark any day now. Then at number 9 on my Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings, the team that we haven't discussed here in about a month or so, and that would be the Milwaukee Brewers. Overall record of 45-39. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games, which is why we are talking about them. They are starting to surge. As I said about the Reds, right now they're leading the NL Central, but the Brewers were a team that were hot earlier in the season, and with the way the NL Central has gone, I just kind of feel like it's going to be one of those divisions where it's like one team gets really hot and other teams get cold, and it's just bouncing back and forth all the way until probably the last game of the season, where we're probably going to see a battle, and maybe even some type of tiebreaker thing for the division. But right now the Brewers are starting to get hot. This past week, they took the series against the New York Mets, and then they also took a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Christian Yelich, he's cooled off the last couple of years. This guy, he won an MVP a few years ago. He used to be one of the top hitters in the league, and he's pretty much been very, very quiet over the last couple of years. But so far, he's really got hot as of late. He's batting a .273, which leads the team. And then he's also got 10 home runs and 40 RBI on the season right now. So he's actually playing pretty well. And then you also have Willy Adames, who's got 12 home runs and 35 RBI on the season. So the Brewers right now, they are looking good, and maybe they're going to overtake that NL Central lead here for the time being. But right now the Reds are still up there, but look out for the surging Brewers. And then rounding out the Trop 10 MLB Power Rankings this week, the stupid Los Angeles Dodgers have reared their ugly heads again. They are 46-37 on the season, 6-4 in their last 10 games. This past week, they took the series against the Colorado Rockies, but lost the series to the Kansas City Royals, so that's pretty hilarious. But they're getting it done. They're starting to get hot once again. Even though they have not had the season that you expect the Dodgers to have, you still can't count them out. Even though Clayton Kershaw it was just announced today that he's going to be on the injured list for a brief period of time here, he is having a great season with 10 wins, a .255 ERA, and 105 strikeouts. So that's going to be a huge chunk taken out of their starting pitching, because this guy, he's just out there being the typical workhorse that he's always been. But we'll see how long he's on the injured list. Doesn't sound like it's going to be for long, though. But even if it is, regardless, Kershaw's just been having a phenomenal season for an old dude. And then you got Freddie Freeman, who's been the Dodgers having such a bad season so far has kind of overshadowed how good of a season Freddie Freeman has had. He's batting at .315 with 14 home runs and 54 RBI. And then Mookie Betts is now starting to get hot as well. He's batting at .271 with 22 home runs and 56 RBI. So the Dodgers starting to get hot, but who knows, that Kershaw injury could take the wind out of their sails, but you never know with the Dodgers. And then, of course, a team we didn't talk about, but we have to keep talking about this player, Shohei Ohtani. The guy has been just on fire. I mean, honestly, if you really look at his numbers, the dude's actually on pace to do what Aaron Judge did last year. Now, it's too early to be really talking about that, but if you just compare the numbers from last year to last year, his numbers are identical to what Judge did. So who knows? Maybe we'll have yet another home run at the record, but it really doesn't matter, because what Ohtani's doing is something we have never ever seen in baseball. So we have to keep talking about him. And right now his season just gets better. The guy, when he hits a home run, it's not even just like a little blooper home run. It's like these crushing home runs that are 400 plus feet out of the stadium. So it's just crazy to see this guy come in and just strike out dude after dude after dude, and then walk right up to the plate and then just crush them out of the stadium. And then you got Mike Trout, who comes right up after him, and then boom, crushes them out of the stadium too. So they got some head crushers there. But right now, Ohtani's stats on the season, right now batting a .306 with 31 home runs, leads the league. 68 RBI, which is tied for the league with Matt Olson. And then with pitching, he's got a 3.02 ERA with 7 wins and 127 strikeouts, which is still tops in the league right now. So the guy is he's on fire, pitching and hitting, can't be stopped. Great to watch. And hopefully he keeps it up. But yeah, got to keep talking about the dude because we have not seen anything like this. And he's just great for baseball. And if you are just interested to see something really cool and something different, and maybe get you interested back in baseball, I highly suggest watching Shohei Ohtani, because this guy is he's just doing something we've never seen, and it's going to be cool to hopefully see it go on for years. And my fingers are crossed that the San Francisco Giants are going to make a play for him in the offseason, and hopefully he's going to be in a Giants uniform. But that's months away. Let's just enjoy what he's got going on right now. But those are my hopes, of course. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week of baseball, and I will talk to you all on Friday.